Inflation data received so far for October and November show a welcome reduction in the monthly pace of price increases. But it will take substantially more evidence to give confidence that inflation is on a sustained downward path.
Hello, welcome to Financial Stockholm. I'm Chrystal. Today is Friday, December 15th, 2022, and we're in our Christmas season in Sweden. And a lot of the news that we're getting today is really focusing on energy costs and the state of our energy crisis here in Sweden. So that's the primary focus. We had a lot of political news this week, and we had a lot of political discussion. And now we see the focus within the news is more on the energy. And as the war continues in Ukraine, and it looks like they're getting Patriots, and our press wants to say that's not such a big deal. Personally, I think it could lead us into a war, or for the world. However, you could see a scenario unfold much like what we had in the United States when the United States was in the Korean War and when the United States was also in the Vietnam War. These were two scenarios where you had foreign troops in these countries fighting against the American and other troops that were there to overpower each other. So in Korea, you had Chinese troops fighting alongside the Koreans, and then you maybe even had some Russians. And then in Vietnam, you had some Russians and Chinese, definitely the Chinese, despite the Vietnamese not wanting their help, they still had them involved. And then if you look at other conflicts, like in Iraq, in the first Iraq, the United States was monitoring a lot of the Russian radio communications going on. And then you had that again continuing. So it's not like you haven't had these quote unquote proxy wars where other world powers have not been involved. They've been involved. And we had this in Africa. You had a lot of Cuban troops, and the United States was involved. And then you've had the French troops and so forth. So there is this idea that we can have war all the time and not have a nuclear war. And I think personally, I would rather have no war. But what we're being prepared for is a pre-war condition, potential rationing, and a long-term steady war, which will occur in the Ukraine. So you have regions in Ukraine where the war is ongoing, and then the rest of the country is not at war. So it's not like it's an all-out war within Ukraine. It's only affecting certain regions. And so this will continue. And I think really where it puts us and what is the focus in the Swedish press today is about the energy, because we are going to have a need for a doubling of our energy. Unfortunately, the Swedish press is putting forward the idea of windmills. Now, this is the idea that's popularized. And many people would say, well, hey, we can build windmills faster. We could actually build nuclear faster, but we don't want to do that. And we could actually be building the nuclear instead of the windmill. But for the last 50, 60 years, since you've had things like the IPCC, which was put together by friends of Olof Palme, and Olof Palme, our former prime minister, he was anti-nuclear. And if you go back over the time period, you look and you see there's been a very managed propaganda campaign against nuclear. And even when you look at this fusion idea coming out the other day, it's again to move away from nuclear. Nuclear would be the best that we have and the most energy producing. Fusion is put forward as a better energy producer, requiring less and less radiation. And that's to say that you don't really get affected by the radiation. But if you think about fusion in a very simple way, fusion is like making a mini sun on the Earth and using it to make the energy. So it's very hard to contain, and you need very, very high temperatures, and you need to be able to contain those temperatures to contain the explosion. Remember, the hydrogen bomb had fusion, but you needed fission to create it. And today, fusion labs are using lasers to accelerate and excite the hydrogen to produce helium. And to do this, you need deuterium. And you generally find this in deep waters, and we've been able to find it in Norway. and then you also need lithium to produce it. So the idea of 2040, everything switching over to fusion, it's great, but we'll see if it can actually happen. We'll see if we can actually contain it, and we'll see if we'll be able to produce with it. But in the meantime, we should be producing with nuclear, and that's where our articles in the Swedish press are about, is the energy cost and what we're going to do. And you have a lot of people who are going to freeze to death this winter in their households, and there are a lot of people who will probably starve to death because of the increased food cost. So we're looking at a decelerating Swedish GDP due to the inflation, due to the energy cost, due to the interest rate hikes. And if you look at the US GDP, you see them at a continued rate hike cycle. And this is a global issue because you need to contract the amount of money that's out there, the liquidity supply. You need to deflate that market and eliminate the inflation that way. So this has really been the focus in the Swedish press, not too much about the Donald Trump trading card or other events that have been occurring on Twitter, like censorship. So it's a focus on the real core issues here in Sweden. So we'll see what next week brings us, but it is the week before the Christmas holiday. So hopefully people will be getting more than coal under the Christmas tree. And so with that, I'll wish you a happy Christmas, Merry Christmas, whichever you want to say it. And remember, a Christmas gift for us would be your subscribing and liking. And we'll see you again next week. And have a great day. Remember, you can always make money in the market, whether you're long or short, or whether you're short position and or long-term position, short-term, long-term trading. Either way, you can make money in the market. Thank you very much.